Hello, everyone, and welcome to BodyBags. I'll be your reviewer for today. I'm Lonnie from Tats, and yeah, just recently I picked up the Houses of Doom box set from Cauldron, and I thought it would be kind of fun to do a deep dive into some of these movies and review them. So the first one that I'm going to do, and being a you know just being a random week, I figure I would start with Lucio Fulci's 1989 film, The House of Clocks. And this one here, I probably would have to say is probably the best one out of the set of four movies. It's, I mean, in terms of like Fulci movies, I would definitely say it's kind of more middle of the road. It's not his best work, but it's certainly not the worst thing he's ever done either. Even though this movie came around at a time when, Fulci's a lot of the movies that Fulci was doing was, not considered his best work, and this was, I think, around the time he was doing stuff like Touch of Death and Murder Rock and stuff like that. And this movie here, even though it was intended for Italian television, but that was the thing with all four of the movies that were part of the Houses of Doom set. These movies they were intended to be for Italian television, but they ended up being just too graphic and too gory, and they just could not use them for for television. So I think they did ultimately try to make these movies go for theatrical releases, and the story is pretty interesting, especially after I listened to the audio commentary and watched some of the bonus features on here. Was that this was the original story for the film was created by Fulci, and a lot of it was just him. He at this point in his life, because of all of the health issues that he had, he was grappling with the concept of death and what was going on. He had so many problems. He had had a heart attack, and they did a blood transfusion, and because of that, he ended up getting diabetes and hepatitis. I mean, he just had so many health problems, and that was one of the things. That's why he was churning out a lot of these movies that just weren't, they weren't up to the par of when he was doing stuff like City of the Living Dead or Zombie or stuff like that. Just he was trying to just conjure up stories and just trying to make movies and keep going and everything else, mostly because he needed the money to pay his medical bills, and which unfortunately were mounting and everything. So he was in a pretty rough state in his life when he made this movie. And so but honestly, it's actually a genuinely good story. You have the main characters. You have this old couple, Vittorio and Sarah, um, and they live in this house. This house is surrounded by clocks, and it turns out that clocks and time and death and what happens after death plays a huge part in this film. And then we found out that these two, you think they're this sweet old couple, and just this like elderly couple, just out there living their golden years and all that kind of stuff. But it turns out they actually have the bodies of their niece and nephew who had got married, and they came to live with them. But come to find out that they were actually going to try to steal their money and everything else. So yeah, they had to do away with them. But they got the bodies preserved in the. As a matter of fact, yeah, that's the niece right there. So they have the bodies preserved. So they're just living there, and then we're introduced to Paul, Tony, and Sandra, I believe, the three other main characters of the film. And Paul, Tony, and Sandra, one thing you're going to notice about this movie is that none of the characters are particularly likable. A lot of the characters in this movie are pretty much all out and out scumbags. So that's kind of a big problem. Is like when you're watching this movie, is like you're trying to really, really spend time trying to discern like which one is the lesser of two evils. But so the three of them, they're known for basically just going around, just stealing and shoplifting, things like this. There's one point they needed, Sandra's talking about she's hungry and they need food, so they stop in a market, and so she goes in and distracts the clerk in the store by Now, I'll let you watch it so you can see for yourself. But let's just say she uses her feminine charms to distract him. And while she's doing this, Tony and Paul, they're pretty much shoplifting, taking food so they can, and then they skedaddle. Well, the thing is they're actually on their way to the house of Vittorio and Sarah because they see it's a big house and they know, there's a lot of stuff there. There's a lot, they figure it'd be a great score for them. There's they figured there's got to be all kinds of stuff they could take. There's got to be tons of money there. There's got to be, all kinds of things they can have and use to take with them. And so they're on their way to rob these people. So they get inside the house and, uh, they hold up Sarah and Vittorio. And I think that'll probably be about the best place. Let's just say things don't go exactly as planned, but our three robbers, they all think that that everything is good, everything's going according to plan. But let's just say that like death, has other plans and time has other plans in store, and so then it's all about and that is a big huge theme of this film is it's a lot about you know time and what do you do left with the time you have on earth. Is there afterlife? Do we come back? Do we resurrect? Is there nothing? Everything else. So this was basically, and that's a lot of it. This was basically a case of Lucio Fulci just kind of like at a point in his life where his health was in really poor shape, and he was just, you know, grappling with the issues and stuff like that. Like what happens after we die, and you could tell, and that is a huge theme of this movie, and but it's really well done, and there are some pretty gruesome, gory bits, and so it's like when you're watching this, it does, there is nothing in this that would there's nothing in this movie that would give you the indication that it was made for television. It plays very much as a theatrical film. It doesn't play like, you know, the movie's not toned down. You have several really gory scenes. Some of the kills are very brutal. There's a lot of gruesome, what you would expect from, a Fulci horror film. There's lots of gruesome, bloody, gory special effects. There's some nasty lingering shots and everything else. So yeah, I mean, it's not crazy to understand like uh, why this didn't make it for Italian television. But I mean, I understand that like I'm sure that Italian television is somewhat different than what we're used to here in America. But yeah, just. But you got to remember though too. This was 1989 for crying out loud. Back in 1989, I mean, we couldn't. Television was so toned down compared to what it is now. But I mean, it's like now. I mean, here in America, now, we got, look at Chuck Lorre shows. I mean, it's like, turn on the Chuck Lorre show. You get like a boner joke every 2 seconds. Or something like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, this is 1989, so of course this would not work very well for television. But overall, it is actually a really good movie. It's definitely one. This is, I would say, like around that time, because like I said, this was around the time that he was doing stuff like Touch of Death or Murder Rock or Demonia and stuff like this. He was making those kind of movies. This movie is very much a standout, I think, and the story actually is quite good. And even though this is Fulci's original story, it's a good film. I like the idea. There are some actually, like I said, yeah, there are gruesome bits, and there are actually some pretty scary, kind of creepy moments in it, and some suspenseful moments and everything else. And it's actually a pretty well crafted film. So I mean, I think this movie is kind of a standout, considering like some of the work that Fulci was putting out at the time. And I mean, if you've seen it, you probably already know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, I would definitely say give this a watch. And I would, yeah, I think you might agree that this is definitely one of Fulci's best, especially from that era, when, like I said, just it seemed like a lot of the quality of a lot of his films were just not really there. But but yeah, and I think you'll find it interesting. Like I said, just the idea of, you know, just what happens when we die. Is there an afterlife? Do we come back? So anyway, so yeah, all I'm starting to do now is just repeat myself. But yeah, if you ever get a chance, I mean, if you can find, I know that there are DVDs of this available. If you can ever find it, I would say, get it and check it out. I would not say hold it up to the standard of like Zombie or say The Living Dead, House by the Cemetery or any of that kind of stuff, or even New York Ripper. I would say, I wouldn't say, hold it up to the standard of those movies, but I'd say just kind of go in, manage your expectations. I think you might be pleasantly surprised by how well this movie's made. So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much going to do it. So if anybody took the time to watch this, I thank you for doing it. I appreciate you for doing it. I also hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, could you please leave it a like? And if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe to the BodyBags channel. And that's it, everybody. So take care, everyone. Have a good night. I'll see you all later.